A lot of our audience are gardeners, and obviously there's a lot of perhaps pros to having your cats be near your garden. But as far as integrating a garden with a catio, is that something you have any experience with? And if so, what sort of what have you found to be an ideal situation?
The first thing is ensuring that you're choosing a structure that is the right scale and size. Our most popular plans are the three-sided patios that are secured to the home, and the cat can enter through a cat door and a window, a wall, a door. And so it's a low impact on the space. And obviously, attracting birds with native plants is a great way to bring nature elements around the catio, but having them obviously further away if you're doing a bird feed or something like that. Looking at the size and the scale and bringing in plants, it's very important to have cat safe plants. And the ASPCA has a great list of toxic and non toxic plants that you can check before you plant any potential dangerous plants around the catio or in the catio. My first catio, I had seating, I had cat safe plants, I had a water fountain, I had a beautiful view out to the garden, I had bird feeders, a bird bath, and it was just a great joy to be in the garden with my cat, bonding and sharing fresh air. We humans need it too. We need to unplug those phones and get out and take a cat nap and have quality time with our pets.
Welcome to the Mother Earth News and Friends podcast. At Mother Earth News, for 50 years and counting, we've been dedicated to conserving the planet's natural resources while helping you conserve your financial resources. In this podcast, we host conversations with experts in the fields of sustainability, homesteading, natural health, and more to share all about how you can live well wherever you are in a way that values both people and our Mother Earth.
Hello, and thank you for joining us for this episode of Mother Earth News and Friends. I'm Josh Wilder, Content Director for Mother Earth News, and with me today I have the Catio Queen Cynthia Chomos. She founded Catio Spaces to address the need for safe and visually appealing outdoor enclosures to enhance the lives of cats. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, pleasure. Absolutely.
So, just to give folks an idea of how long you've been doing this and where you're at, can you tell us a little bit about where you're currently at and how you got into this field?
Sure. Catio Spaces is celebrating our 10th anniversary. I will admit that I knew nothing about cats 10 years ago, actually longer than that. I grew up with a family of dogs, and my neighbor's cat meandered into my yard one day. And I'm like, hey, who's that in the tree, trespasser? And she proceeded to hang out with me, and she adopted me, and I became a cat parent for the first time. And I thought she's savvy to the ways of the world. And I put in a cat door, and she passed about 10 years later of kidney disease. And I ended up having a dream shortly thereafter and saw this little orange tabby kitten. And I eventually found the kitten, and it was out of a desire to keep her safe. I wasn't about to let a young, curious kitten roam freely in my backyard and potentially get out from under the fence. So I converted my patio into a catio. And I was sitting in there one day with a cup of tea and Serena, my little tabby, on my lap. And I had a flash of inspiration to start catio spaces. And I realized that catios don't need to be traditional wire cages, that they can be very attractive, built with wood framing and complement the home. They can be painted, and you can bring in plants and seating for humans. And that's really what started it. I'm also a feng shui consultant, and I do design. And I just thought, this is perfect. I can combine my love of design, nature, and cats and help cat parents and cats enjoy the enrichment of the outdoors.
It's great. So, as far as when you first started designing and building catios, and I guess first off, let's start for people that are unfamiliar with catios. Can you explain the primary benefits for them and the setup or the different types of setups you can have for a catio?
Absolutely. Patios are outdoor cat enclosures that are escape proof. They come in a variety of sizes. They can be a window box, they could be on a deck, a patio, in the garden, or there could even be a cat tunnel leading to a self-standing catio further away from the house. But the goal is to protect cats. There are so many outdoor dangers, everything from predators, poisons, vehicles, pesticides, diseases from other animals. potentially getting locked in a neighbor's garage or chased up a tree. And coyotes. Coyotes are big, especially here in Seattle. And nobody wants to see a listing on your community forum seeing a lost or a deceased cat. So I think there's an opportunity as Catios become more popular. It really helps promote cat parents taking into consideration the well-being of their cats in terms of protecting birds and wildlife, but also providing the enrichment that cats love. They love the stimulation of nature and the outdoors.
Absolutely. So with the Catio spaces, you offer folks DIY plans. When you were putting together those plans that really need to be versatile for anyone's situation, what were some of the challenges you came across when putting together those concepts?
What I found out of building custom catios, every location is unique. And so putting together plans that would come in a variety of sizes and various options for where the door could be placed. It's very important to have a human-sized door for access to your cats, and also to be able to exit the home if you do have a catio up against the house and there's a patio slider door or something like that. Human safety, cat safety, giving a variety of sizes and shapes, and just catios can be very compact. They can be 3 feet deep by 6 feet wide. And if you go vertical, it gives cats a lot of vertical and horizontal movement and exercise. So just knowing everybody's going to have a different situation and to be able to offer the variety and make it easy for cat parents. I've built catios myself with my carpentry team. And so I worked with a mechanical engineer and we put together these plans that are easy to follow. They include step-by-step instructions, a material and tool list. Materials can be purchased at a local hardware or home improvement or lumber store. And there's diagrams, and it could be done in a weekend depending on the size of the project. And it's so rewarding. There's no greater joy than seeing your cat go out into a catio and experience nature for the first time and go do the exploring and looking around and getting acclimated to their new place, their new space.
Absolutely, I can imagine. As single cats versus multi-cat households, are there different considerations? And if so, what might those be?
In multi-cat households, there can often be stress due to a lack of territory. When it comes to multi-cat households, being sure that there's enough shelves, that there's a circular flow so that nobody gets ambushed up on the top shelf, but just doing a lot of vertical and horizontal movement and space for the cats.
A lot of our audience are gardeners, and obviously there's a lot of perhaps pros to having your cats be near your garden. But as far as integrating a garden with a catio, is that something you have any experience with? And if so, what have you found to be an ideal situation?
The first thing is ensuring that you're choosing a structure that is the right scale and size. Our most popular plans are the 3-sided patios that are secured to the home, and the cat can enter through a cat door and a window, a wall, a door. And so it's a low impact on the space. And obviously, attracting birds with native plants is a great way to bring nature elements around the catio, but having them obviously further away if you're doing a bird feeder or something like that. Looking at the size and the scale and bringing in plants, it's very important to have cat-safe plants. And the ASPCA has a great list of toxic and non-toxic plants that you can check before you plant any potential dangerous plants around the catio or in the catio. My first catio, I had seating, I had cat-safe plants, I had a water fountain, I had a beautiful view out to the garden, I had bird feeders, a bird bath, and it was just a great joy to be in the garden with my cat, bonding and sharing fresh air. We humans need it too. We need to unplug those phones and get out and take a cat nap and have quality time with our pets.
Talking a little bit more specifically about that quality time that cats have in the catios, have you observed any specific behavioral changes in cats after they started using a catio?
Absolutely. I get photos and emails from my clients. Mimi's at the cat door first thing in the morning. She wants out. Or when cats, I've had cats that have been a bit shy when I've gone into the home and they're a little bit timid. And I'll go back later to check in, and that cat is in their element. When they're in nature, it's like something opens up. That's a very organic experience. And I think the cats get a chance to relax and maybe not be so skittish. One of the things I find really interesting is some cats are timid going out, and the other ones just go right up and they're hopping on all the shelves. And just a couple weeks ago, we had this one cat who went up to the top shelf and they were pawing the ceiling. Can I get out? Where's my boundaries? And once they know their boundaries, then they're just in there enjoying it. And I love getting pictures of cats lounging and cat naps in the sun, and they need sun. We all do. I live in Seattle. Believe me, we need it. But cats are always in the window trying to get that sun on their fur, and to have an outdoor space where that can happen. And along that line, I will say one of the catio building mistakes, in my view, is putting a shade covering over the catio. I think you can have a balance of sun and shade, but I've seen builds where it's a shingle roof and the cats are up against the wire trying to get some of that sun. So there's shade cloth you can bring in. You can bring in a bench where the cats can go underneath and get the shade. So, you know, part sun, part shade is ideal, but definitely a sunny location versus the north side where you're not getting any sun. But any fresh air is going to be good for a cat.
For sure. Yeah, and just talking about its connection with nature, and you mentioned the birds before. Could you go into that a little bit and just some of the issues around feral cats especially, and birds, and how catios can give cats that outside.
Exactly. No, I think the American Bird Conservancy, they're estimating 2.4 to 4 million birds are killed each year by free roaming cats. I'm not as connected to the feral cat population. I'm working with pet owners that are looking for that outdoor stimulation. But nobody wants to have your cat show up with a bird in mouth and leave it on your doorstep. That's heart-wrenching. We need to protect the songbirds in our backyards. And a catio really is a win-win for wildlife and cat parents having a cat and wildlife friendly garden. I know when my cat's out in her catio, the birds have a different there's almost like this little warning chirp, like they see the cat and they're like warning the other birds and they stay away. It may not be perfectly foolproof because a bird can get into a 1 by 1 inch square of wire, the fencing wire. 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch is the best way to keep birds out. Some clients want to have more of a feeling of not being caged in. So it's a balance, and it's really up to the cat parent how far they want to go. A lot of when we do catio builds, we'll use 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch on the lower 3 feet of the catio. So if there's raccoons or visiting cats, we can protect them. And also birds that might be ground feeders aren't going to get into the catio. And it's important to have bird feeders far enough away that we're not encouraging predation by cats.
You mentioned earlier that one of the more popular designs are the ones that are attached to the home. And is that something that has always been the case, or is there kind of an evolving trend in design or homeowner preference that you've noticed?
It's a combination of budget. It's less expensive to have one close to the house, but also the fact that you don't have to carry your cat to and from the catio and risk a cat bolting out of your arms. Cats love freedom, and if there's a cat door, they can go in and out on their time. If you're off at work, they can go and enjoy the catio and come back in when they've had enough. And you can also, there are locks on the cat doors so you can monitor. Maybe you don't want your cat to go out at night, but the catios are a safe space. And so having them close to the home and also being able to look out the window and see your cat enjoying the sun, and being able to, if they're large enough, like a sanctuary style catio that's 8 by 10 or 6 by 8, there's room for you to step out into that catio and enjoy it too. There's the enjoyment of watching them. It's also the convenience of the cats having free reign, if you will, and the cost.
As far as the cost goes in materials, you mentioned the plans that you have and share with folks that are made of wood and basic metal wire. Is that right?
Yes, it's a galvanized welded fencing wire.
So I'm sure you mentioned all the photos you get of cats that the folks that you talk to send over. And I'm sure you've seen a gamut of different designs. Can you talk about some of the more unique designs that you've seen, perhaps? And then I'm sure you've seen some unique DIY
Oh,
catios
yes.
over the years.
So our DIY plans, we've got a window box, and there's the sanctuary and the haven that are right up against the house, and then there's the oasis, which is further away. But as far as custom patios that I've had the pleasure of working with clients, I had one client in particular. She lived over on Vashon Island in a secluded plot of land, and she was an artist. And she says, I know you do nice and pretty ones that complement a home, but I want art. I want garden art. And she had 4 cats, and she lived in a purple house with pink trim, and she had a bubblegum pink deck on the back. And we built this multicolored cabana catio for her 2 new kittens, and they loved it so much. There was a tunnel that went out to that particular deck. She loved it so much she wanted one for her other cat. So we built a birdhouse style catio, very colorful. And then her third cat, the senior cat, liked to hang out in the front side of the house. So we built another one there. And then she wanted a few tunnels to connect them. And so there were these magenta elevated catwalk tunnels, 180 feet of elevated catwalk tunnels that could completely circumnavigate the house. So all the cats
Wow.
go all the way around. And she had metal art, and it was just, you'd walk onto her property and your mouth just goes, because it's her, she's eclectic, and that's what she wanted.
Yeah.
What a fun project. It was one of the funnest. I've also done a project on a houseboat for some cerebellar hyperplasia cats, the CH cats that have balance issues. Interesting balance issues, and she lives on a
A
houseboat.
boat. Yeah.
So the key there was she wanted it colorful. And so we ended up painting it. And the key thing for the cats, because we customize them for the cats, and there were ramps that had railings, padded railings. There were a lot of rugs and soft places to land, and a change of textures so that the cats had, if they're going up the ramp, there's more to grab onto versus just this nice cozy lounge on the main floor of the catio. But it was a very fun project, and the cats loved it. The fellow houseboat owners would get a kick every day walking by and seeing the cats in this very unique catio. The sky's the limit. I have a black gable roofed catio. It's about 13 feet long, and I've got a spiral staircase in it and lots of shelves, and there's a 6-foot lounge in there for me. I've slept out there with my cat, and she's got a 30-foot elevated tunnel that goes right into the house, so she can come and go as she pleases. It's just a matter of the space, what the client wants. They can be a focal point in a garden, or they can just be tucked and blend in. It's really anything you want.
That's great. Yeah. We'll have to see if we can reach out to those folks and get some photos of those unique style, and especially, and yours as well, if that's something you could share.
Oh, absolutely.
That's great. So I guess the final question is, so with the increasing focus on pet safety and well-being, do you see the popularity of catios growing?
Absolutely. I think it was in 2023, there was like a 300% increase in catio searches on the internet. So I got involved 10 years ago, and I've seen a real surge in website traffic and interest. And there are catio tours that are happening and popping up around the country. Seattle, we sponsor one. I work with the Humane Society of the United States, and we sponsor alternating years. We'll have a catio free open house. And then the next year we'll do an actual catio tour where we charge $10. And then that money goes back to the whatever organization helped promote that ticket sale. So the money goes back to support the local organizations.
That's great. I remember looking up some of the search trends around catios and noticing, because a pretty common DIY project for our audience is to build a greenhouse of their own. And over the past few years, catios have, and DIY catios, I believe specifically, have outgained DIY greenhouses as a search term. As far as outbuildings, you might say catios are certainly a popular project right now. I hope anybody
They're fun to build.
Yeah, absolutely. Just imagining, I'm sure folks, anybody who's a pet or a cat parent, like you said, and has played with their cats and seen what they like to do, can imagine what kind of catio that they might want to build for them. So it's certainly a fun project. And like you said, with the artists and integrating it with your garden, it's certainly something to add something special to your backyard.
It's a good investment. All it takes is one vet bill, and that money could have gone to building a catio and keeping your cat safe. So there's lots of benefits. Absolutely.
That's great. Thanks so much for chatting with me. And if anyone has any questions for Cynthia, please send them to letters@motherearthnews.com and we'll send them her way.
Perfect.
Appreciate your time.
All right. Life's good in the catio.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Mother Earth News and Friends. To listen to more podcasts and get connected on our social media, visit www.motherearthnews.com/podcast. You can also email us at podcast@ogdenpub.com with any questions or suggestions. Our podcast production team includes Kenny Coogan, Melissa Warner, and myself, Josh Wilder. Music for this episode is the song Hustle by Kevin MacLeod. The Mother Earth News and Friends podcast is a production of Ogden Publications.